So this video is continuing with why, basically an analysis of Barack Obama, and he is along the same lines as, say, somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Steve Jobs, and even like Alexander the Great, that in my opinion had a strong disadvantage, yet he really outperformed like the average person that would have had a lot more than he would have had. It just makes sense. So it was really, a lot of people know a lot about his adult life when he was elected president in his mid to late 40s. But not a lot of people know, they know a little bit about his past, but it's not as popularized or as known. And there were some discussions. He was even born and raised in the United States, within the 50 states that encompasses the United States. So it's quite interesting that I actually, as I mentioned before, I read his book Dreams of My Father three times, and just because I was so fascinated by his life. And I personally voted for him 2 times, and it was quite a situation to be in the United States when he was actually elected president. So going back into his past, a lot of people know this. He was like raised in Hawaii. He went to Indonesia when he was young because his mom was dating. His mom, which I believe was from Kansas, dated a lot of foreign students. So she dated Barack Obama's dad, who was allegedly very, very smart. And then she dated an Indonesian student, and they actually moved together to Indonesia for 2 years. And Obama actually went there. But during all this time, he was just like kind of following his mom. He really was a protagonist in most of the decisions he made, or the life that he wanted to lead. It was really in his high school that he started developing what I call his intrinsic self-motivation and in leadership and self-promoting. Really made him president of the United States, despite the odds of being perceived as obviously African American. Which, he is born. His father is like an African scholar, an African. I think he's a Harvard graduate, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, I think one of the things that made him so successful is just the amount of love and support that he got from his mom. Even though his dad was absent, I really think that based on what I read in his book, the way that he was treated by his mom was critical in order to create a human being that was very capable of doing whatever he wanted. But I think another aspect of his personality is just his drive. Like, he basically was in high school, he was not doing well in basketball, and then he just trained, discipline, and then he started outperforming everybody playing a basketball game. Then this is a part of his life that some people know about, but there's not a well known. He moved to Occidental in LA. And you have to understand, like, he was probably like in his 19 or 18 years old, and all of a sudden he just moves to the United States, into like major city on his own, and then he starts studying for 2 years. His mom always said, like, his mom had high expectations, said, like, you can perform a lot better, Obama. Like, he would always tell him, like, I think he would call him Barry, but I'm not entirely sure. I have to double check that fact. So he moved to LA, and he was just not. He wanted a little bit more, so from LA he moved to. He finished his degree in Columbia, and this just shows his level of drive. Like, just being in those cities by on his own, like New York and LA, is just by itself is just a huge um, a huge enterprise. And then going to Colombia and then being in New York City, which is one of the most it's one of the most exciting places that I've been or lived in. And then spending 2 years there, and he just was really focused on what he wanted to do. Like he started. I remember a lot of his readings. He lived